Hey there, Roger DeVoe here, and I'm really excited to talk to my special guest today, Sarah Roberts. Now, Sarah is the owner and creator of the blog sarahtalksfood.com, where she shares not only some of her favorite recipes and things about food, but also a lot of really cool things about life. But that's not what I'm here to talk to her about today. What I want to talk about is her brand new book, The 28-Day Kick the Sugar Challenge. Now, this is an incredible book. It's just launched as of today. So it's a really exciting time for Sarah. So first of all, Sarah, hello and welcome. Thank you for talking with me.
Hi, Roger. Thank you so much for having me on. I think I haven't seen you since coffee this morning.
I know it's been so long. I missed your beautiful face, so I'm glad we can catch up now. Why don't you just start? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the book? And what is it that you want people to get out of it?
Excellent. So the way that the book all came about is over a year ago now, I attended a book writing mastermind with Peggy McCall. And so I was so blessed to be in her company and amidst a bunch of aspiring writers. And we all learned so much that day. And it was phenomenal. And yet I came home and I started, I was excited. I came home and I started writing my memoir. I started writing about my journey out of alcoholism and out of my drinking life and into a sober life and how I accomplished that. And what sort of started happening is I was going to those dark places because I hadn't really explored a lot of those stories out of my life for a long time. I had pushed them down. I sort of hadn't really thought about them. I thought that I had really, put them behind me and I had come through it and I was just, in a much better space. And that's true. But I feel like when I went back to really unpack some of the emotional trauma and the different feelings of pain through the stories that I was relaying onto the page, all of a sudden I started finding myself reaching for sugar. And so I was soothing some of those emotions that were coming back up to the surface with dark chocolate. And I would sort of allow it because I would say, well, it's full of antioxidants, so it's good for me. And then I started baking a lot more. And I'm not somebody who typically would bake. And so I was baking using maple syrup and honey, and I was definitely using all natural sweeteners. And health was always, and always has been since I got sober at the top of my list. But I was reaching for sugar. And so as much as a lot of people want to give maple syrup and honey and molasses a pass and say, it's healthy, so it's good for us. And it is, but it's still sugar. And so I started noticing my pants were fitting a little bit tighter and I wasn't feeling as energetic. And I realized that I was using sugar to soothe my emotions. And so I had to do something about that. And so I decided that I would do a sugar cleanse, similar to a cleanse that I had done about 6 years ago. When I decided to just completely rid my diet of all sugar, and it was really tough, but I really liked the way that I felt, and it really changed my body. And so I decided to do a similar cleanse to that this time around. And yet, what I decided to do this time around was see if any of my Sarah Talks Food blog followers were interested in joining me. And lo and behold, I had many people decide that they too wanted to kick their sugar monster to the curb. And so that's how the Kick the Sugar Challenge began.
So you wanted to get rid of sugar, clear sugar out, because it is funny. We can easily go, oh, it's just maple syrup. It's just honey. It does add up and it does add to your waist if you have too much of it. And so you wanted to cut it. You got a group of people that were on your blog to do it with you. How did that turn into the book that you have now?
So the way it all started is, so when I realized that I had over 100 people sign up and they wanted to do a Kick the Sugar Challenge with me, a 28-day challenge, what I did was I thought, okay, and, talk about just, ready, fire, aim. I just decided to do it. And, a few days later, it was, up and going. And we, you built a website for me and had the whole thing organized. And so what I did was I started sending out daily emails. And so people would get an email into their inbox with instructions and with suggestions and ideas and inspiration and tips and all sorts of things. And they would get these every day. But the problem is that sometimes people would miss an email, or, you know, they'd kind of skip a day. And so then they'd sort of feel like, oh, wait, where am I in the whole challenge? And what day am I on? And what are we supposed to do today? And so I feel, and it's true, that whenever we sort of have an opportunity for an out, we take it. You know, you have taught me so much about the way the brain works. And so when there's an opportunity for an out, people might take it. So lo and behold, I had several challengers drop off because they were just feeling like, you know, I'm just not keeping up and I don't know what day I'm on and I'm just not, you know, able to, you know what's happening. And so I felt that it was important for me to have all of the instructions and all of the inspiration and all of the messages that I wanted to share with challengers all in one place so that it was really easy to find. And so that's exactly how the book began.
Now, you keep talking about messages, tips, inspiration. And I know this is a big part, if anyone out there follows your blog, this is a big part of what you do. Now, you do have something like 90 recipes or more in the book. So you show people exactly what to eat, what meals to make, how to make them. And I know you're big on simple, fast, delicious meals. But there's a lot more than that in this book. Can you tell us a little bit about what's in it and why you've really included that within the book?
Yeah, that's a great question. And of course, you being sort of on the inside, you are a fellow warrior. We call you a warrior because you've come through the 28-day Kick the Sugar Challenge. You know, you're privy to what all transpired throughout that 28-day journey and beyond. And so what we all uncovered is that it is not about the food. It is not about the sugar. It is about what the food and the sugar represents in our lives. And it is what we are using the food and the sugar to soothe that gives us pause, that gives us that chance to say, wait a minute, what is actually going on here? And I think that is what was such a powerful key to so many people that did this challenge, was that they just thought that they really liked potato chips. You know, they just really thought they really liked milk chocolate. And while that can also be true, because of course these things taste delicious and we are hardwired to crave fat, sugar, and salt, at the end of the day, we really have to develop a greater sense of self-love. And so self-love is truly at the heart of this book, and it is the message that carries its way through from page 1 to page 361, or however many pages there are. And so really for me, it was paramount that people began to delve into, what does it mean to love myself? And what does it mean to say no to myself? Someone not long ago was emailing saying, I just don't want to always have to say no to alcohol. They were referring to alcohol at the time. And, I don't want to have to keep saying no to myself. And I asked them, might you be able to rethink that and decide that instead of saying no to yourself, you're saying yes to yourself, because you're saying no to something that doesn't serve you. You're saying no to something that hurts you, that harms your body, that makes you feel shameful, that makes you feel degraded, that makes you do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. And so, the same carries through for food. And that's why this book, it wasn't easy to write. I'm not going to say it was easy to write, but for me, I used my experience with my addiction with alcohol as a way to, connect with people who have had food issues for their whole lives. So for me, I grew up as a kid who definitely had a sweet tooth. Like, I loved chocolate as a kid, and I would sneak chocolate as a kid. I remember my parents used to get chocolate as hostess. My mother would get it as hostess gifts and put it in the freezer because she didn't really eat a lot of chocolate. I come from a family of drinkers. It was all about drinking the sugar, not eating the sugar. And I used to go down into the freezer as a young girl, and I would open up those boxes carefully and steal the chocolate and then put the boxes back and pray that no one would notice. And so I definitely had a sweet tooth as a kid. Fast forward to when I began drinking, all of a sudden that sweet tooth I felt was gone. I could say no to dessert, no problem. I never ate dessert. I never craved sweets. I never wanted it. And I'd even look at people and think, I can't believe they're eating all those cookies or all that chocolate cake. And, I'm sitting there chugging down goblets of Merlot. And I talk about that in the very beginning of the book where, I wasn't realizing that I was drinking my sugar. And so all that to say, I really needed to realize that this whole experience was all about self-love. And when I was addicted to alcohol, I hated myself. I loathed myself. I couldn't stand myself. I didn't know where I was going. I had, no plans. I was a drifter. I was somebody who just really didn't have any kind of direction. And I really didn't understand who I was. I really felt disconnected from who I really am. And so I'm hopeful that this book can help anybody who's struggling with any kind of an addiction. But certainly we talk a lot about sugar and food addiction in this book and a reliance on sugar and on food, and especially processed and junk food. But the whole idea is to get to the root of why we're using food and sugar to soothe our emotions rather than other things that serve us. And then how can we heal the hole that we're filling? Because essentially we're always filling a hole with things when we are addicted to things outside of ourselves. So what can we do to fill the hole from the inside out so that we can become wholer versions of ourselves and just love ourselves so much more? Because I just think love is at the heart of this whole experience, of the challenge, and love is at the heart of the experience we call life.
And you know what? It's probably my favorite thing about what you do is because it's not about just kick sugar for 28 days, feel better, maybe lose a little bit of weight and move on. It's not only even just dealing with those things and discovering the reasons why we might be turning to junk food and why we feel that compulsion to eat it, even though it makes us feel bad. But it's that learning about it, realizing everything that it's in, all of the things that are making us want it. I know for myself, going through your 28-day challenge along with those other volunteers, we were the first guinea pigs, I will never look at almost any kind of food the same. And now that I can do that, I will never be the same. It's not like I do this 28 days and I go right back to just eating all the same stuff I was. I understand food and I understand myself so much more now. And I really think that's probably the biggest change that I saw within that group as well, is you just can't go back to looking at food the same way, looking at packaged food and even foods that we might think are healthy. We can't look at that anymore without understanding what that's going to do to us and what that's going to do to our body. So good job on that.
Well, thanks so much. And I really appreciate you touching on that point because, I really tried to educate with this book. And for anyone watching, I am not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not somebody who has those letters behind my name, but I'm somebody who for the last 14 years has, devoted my life to learning as much as I can about food and health and wellness and fitness so that I can better myself. And I'm just sort of a natural born teacher. I'm somebody that can't wait to share what I've learned with other people. And that's essentially why I'm so excited about this book finally being out. And, I suffer from a bit of perfectionism, and I know that's just a guise for, not wanting to put myself out there. But, several iterations of this book have come and gone. And so finally I'm at peace with, it will not be perfect. It is not perfect. And that's okay. I know there are several errors in it. I'm sure I don't want to know about them right now, but I know that is happening. But one of the key concepts that you were just referring to is that we can't unknow. And so, for sure what we have learned and what you will learn if you, check out the book, anyone watching, is that once you know that a teaspoon of sugar is 4 grams, you can't unknow that. You can't unknow that, having a glass of wine, that is liquid sugar. You can't unknow that eating potato chips, that just, your body responds the same way to a bag of potato chips as a refined carbohydrate as it does to table sugar. So we can't unknow the things we know. And so, like you were saying, Roger, you can't sort of go through the world anymore, blindly going along thinking that what you're eating is okay. And that's not a criticism to anybody. We are marketed to by food giants who have deep pockets, and for lack of a better word, they trick us into believing that things are healthy that simply are not. I mean, I truly have a heart for parents these days who have jobs and lives and careers and things going on and kids and everything's crazy. And they want to be able to trust, the commercials and the food marketing. And they simply cannot. I mean, they cannot trust this food marketing. None of us can. And so when you look at, everyone talks about eating yogurt. Well, I mean, eating one of those fruit bottom yogurts is the same deal to your body as eating a candy bar. So, it's just untrue. There is so much untruth out there. And so for me, I wrote this book because this is the book that I wish I had read when I first got started on my path. I just sort of wanted somebody to make it easy and simple for me to know what was going on with food, how food works, what happens when we eat food, and what it all means. And then also to remind myself of why I want to treat my body like the temple that it is, because these incredible bodies house our spirits and they carry us through this amazing life and allow us to live our dreams. And without these amazing bodies, we don't have anything. Without this beating heart beneath our chest, we don't live in this realm anymore. I talk about it in the book. No matter what you believe what happens after we die, if your heart stops beating, you're not living here anymore. And so I'm just so passionate about helping people to love their bodies and to love themselves so much. And that just goes hand in hand. I mean, when we love ourselves so much, we want to treat ourselves with dignity and respect. And so much of that comes with nourishing and nurturing our bodies with the food we eat and with the way we move our bodies. And so I'm just so passionate about helping people to really get that and to feel that and to want to do the best thing that they can for themselves so that they can live an amazing, long, healthy life. Because with modern medicine, we are living longer. I mean, they can just keep us alive longer and longer and longer. And yet, who wants to live in pain or taking medication or just not, living vibrantly? I mean, that's not the way I want to spend, the latter years of my life. Roger, you and I live in a condo building where there are a lot of seniors. We're quiet people. We like to live in a quiet building, and we live with a lot of seniors, and we see the difference. We see 80-year-old men and women here who are still working out at the gym with us, who are still vibrant and able to drive and do all of the wonderful things that, we all want to do to maintain our freedom and independence. And we also see 70-year-olds that are using walkers and canes and they're really struggling. And I'm not saying that everything is preventable, but a lot of it is preventable. And so, like I said, I'm just passionate about helping people to be able to live their lives as vibrantly as they possibly can for as long as they possibly can.
And that passion definitely comes through in the book. And it is amazing the difference in seeing with people. And I get the frustration of parents out there because it is amazing. You go to the grocery store and you see the healthy blue label or the 3-star health foods, and it's on a box of sugary cereal. It's the messages are really out there to confuse us and trick us. And so that is one important thing in the book, where you really do kind of cut through all that stuff and let us understand exactly what we should be looking for, what we should be eating, and you give us plenty of recipes to make it. So on that, why don't you tell us a little bit about the actual book itself? If we open it up, what do we see? What do we get? How is it laid out? What's the experience?
Great question. So the experience is you basically start signing a commitment statement that you are going to stick with this for 28 days. And then I introduce myself a little bit to give people a sense of who I am and what I know and where I came from. And I share my story, like I shared with you a little bit today, which was, I started reaching for sugar myself after starting to write my memoir. And so I wanted to share that in the book to let people know that, I've been there too. I get it. I understand the feeling of being out of control and, reaching for something that we know that we shouldn't be doing. And we're doing it anyway, in spite of those negative consequences. I wasn't feeling great. I was feeling low energy after I would, be eating, a chocolate bar a week. Or, sometimes it was, honestly, I went from 1 piece of dark chocolate after dinner to 2. A few nights later, I'd say, I'll just have 2. And then all of a sudden I was eating an entire bar of dark chocolate. So it was like, this has to stop. I can't be a health and wellness, advocate eating bars of dark chocolate and also baking up, banana bread made with real bananas and almond butter, but still, you get the drill. I mean, I just, you saw all of this happening firsthand as well, Roger. So, again, I just want to put a shout out to you. Thank you so much for all of your support and love and for doing the challenge with me. Not every guy would do that. So kudos to you. You are stellar for sure. But so the experience of the book is, I weave my story throughout it, but essentially I walk you through each of the 28 days. And the way I do that is that, I share my story, I share some tips, some suggestions. Some days it's just a little bit of inspiration. Some days I suggest that your homework is to, watch a certain documentary. Another day, the homework will be to do something a little bit more challenging, which, I think we'll leave that for when people get into the book. But there are homework assignments that are not allowed to be ignored. And these are assignments that are where people are going to really delve into their history with sugar and their history with food and their history with weight and what that means for them. And this is all done in the privacy of your own notebook. And so you're able to, go through and really just get quiet and get still and really think about when sugar became an issue for you. And so all of these homework assignments sort of build upon each other. So each of the 28 days, there isn't homework every day, but quite a few days there are. Some take mere minutes to complete. It's just a quick assignment that I ask. And then some take a little bit longer. There is an entire thread through the whole book of gratitude. And so I think being in an energy of gratitude just helps us to bring more good into our lives. And so that's a very common theme throughout the book. And then after the 28 days, I invite all challengers who will then become warriors to enter the reintegration phase. And the reason I created a reintegration phase is because I know that no one wants to do a 28-day challenge and then go right back to where they were on day one. On day 29, you don't want to go back to the habits that you were, living with before. And so I really knew that people wanted to continue to be supported. And that was made clear to me through the beta group of the challengers, where they said, at about day 25, I had several emailing me and phoning me and messaging me and saying, what am I going to do on day 29? Like, I don't want this to end. I really like where things are going. Can I please continue? And so I created another 28-day reintegration phase. And so what we do there is we reintroduce certain foods each week. And so people can, sort of slowly get back into a more typical diet, because for the 28 days, we're definitely stricter than you will want to be for the rest of your life. But that being said, it's not as strict as a diet, and this is not a diet, and I definitely want to put that out there. This is not a diet. This is a way to recalibrate our systems, to reset things so that we can sort of change our taste buds, change our mindsets, and to really just, like I say, recalibrate. But it is strict. There's no doubt about it. You're not having dairy, you're not drinking wine. There are rules around it. We're not eating chocolate. So the 4-week reintegration phase really helps ease us back in. And a main key throughout the entire challenge as well is using a food journal. So a lot of people might not know, but using a food journal is an amazing way if you are concerned with weight loss, which again, this is not a diet. I'm not worried about you losing weight, but it is a common side effect for a lot of people that go through the challenge. But if you are interested in losing weight, people who use food journals are they lose 2 to 3 times more weight than people who don't use food journals. So it's a non-negotiable on the challenge, whether or not you're looking to lose weight or not. But I need to know that you are connecting what you're eating and how you're feeling, because food and mood are intimately linked, and we need to know how our bodies are responding to the certain foods that we're eating. So when we're on the challenge, we're really just eating lots of really nice lean protein. We're eating tons of vegetables. After 14 days, we reintroduce berries, so we're getting back into some fruit. And later on at day 21, we reintroduce quinoa, which is one of my favorite pseudo cereals. It's not a real grain, but it acts like a grain. So we reintroduce that. But throughout the entire challenge and reintegration, we make sure that we're always tracking how we're feeling, because that's such a key to knowing how foods are affecting our health. And then after the 4 weeks of reintegration, we move into what I call the maintenance phase, and that's AKA the rest of your life. And it's the way that I've essentially lived my life for the last 14 years. I have a cheat meal now and again, for sure. It helps kill a craving. It's important because, you know, I don't want to go the rest of my life never eating chocolate, never having a slice of pizza, never having a burger and fries. But those are things that I treat as cheats. And those are things that I look at not as food, but as entertainment, as a way to really kill a craving. You know, like, you can't get rid of it. We are hardwired to crave fat, salt, and sugar. And so, you know, although there are all of those elements in real food, which is what I absolutely love to eat and tastes delicious to me, once in a while, I want to kill that craving. And every single time, Roger, you know this, every single time I do it, I say, why did I do that? I don't feel well. It's not, you know, it didn't even taste as good as I knew or thought it was going to taste. And, but I do it anyway. And so I think
it never does taste as good as we think it's going to taste.
It really doesn't. But you know what? We need to do it because we're human and that's how our brains work. And we have this craving and it's driving us crazy. And, you know, but, and so for me, it's something that I do now and again to keep me on track all the rest of the time. And it works beautifully in my life. Other people, and I talk about this in the book, they're able to eat well every day, all day, no problem. But every day they have a piece or two of dark chocolate and that's their thing. And that's what they want to do. And that doesn't work for me because, as we both know, you know, I'll have one piece of dark chocolate, then it'll be two. And then the third day I'm eating the whole bar. So for me, a cheat needs to happen every once in a while. But however people want that maintenance phase to look in their own lives is entirely up to them. The only key to it is it has to make you happy. You have to be joyful in your life. You have to love your life. You can't white knuckle your way through the entire rest of your life because, you know, you've got some idea that you want to weigh a certain amount or you want to look a certain way. And so there is a piece at the end of the book where I really get honest with people about, let's talk about what you really, really want. Because I think that so many of us have an idea in our mind of what we want to look like. And we're jealous of people who look a way that we want to look. And you know, we can hate on people because they have a certain physique that we don't have, but are we willing to go after that physique in a lot of cases? I think the answer usually is no, not really. Like, I don't think that everybody has the ambition and drive or desire or time or ability to look like a fitness model. I mean, these people have 13% body fat. They spend 6 hours in the gym every day, all day. They eat very strict diets and, you know, their life revolves around fitness. Well, if that's what you really want, then go for it. Then do it. Then do the work. It's really hard, but do the work to do that. But if that's not the way you really want your life to be organized, if you've got a family and kids, you want to have outings, you want to do things, you don't want to be in a gym 6 hours a day for the rest of your life and eat, you know, boiled chicken and asparagus, then decide that that's not the physique that's for you. That's not your body. That doesn't mean that you cannot be absolutely healthy and vibrant, but healthy does not look like a fitness model a lot of the time. And in fact, a lot of these people, first off, they're photoshopped most of the time in magazines. Let's, you know, be real about that. But it's not necessarily the healthiest way of being. Sarah Zahab, who I interviewed not long ago, you know, she talked about that in the interview that we did together, that when she was at her fittest, she was at her least healthy. You know, it was not the healthiest way to live at all. Things were shutting down in her body. And so let's really reframe what it means to be healthy. I mean, you know, beautiful, curvy people, you know, can be so much healthier than some of these other people who are, you know, much smaller. And there is a phenomenon called skinny fat. You know, it's where, you know, you might not look big on the outside, but you eat a really rotten diet and your arteries are clogged and you have high blood pressure and you have high blood sugar and, you know, things are not going well on the inside. So we can sometimes even judge people on the outside thinking, oh, I wish I could look like that and eat like that. Again, let's get back to talking about health and wanting to be the healthiest, wholest, happiest versions of ourselves, because there's no doubt we have never been sicker, fatter, or sadder ever in the history of time. And we are killing our children. I cannot believe the numbers that we're seeing of children with type 2 diabetes. It is shocking. It used to be called adult onset diabetes, and they can no longer call it that. And so it's got so much to do with food marketing. There's something in food marketing called the nag factor. The nag factor. So advertisers use this so that when they are creating an advertising campaign to sell to their clients, they can talk about the number, the nag factor. What kind of impact will this have on kids nagging their parents, usually their mothers, to buy this product once they see it in the grocery stores? So the other thing is that a child up until the age of 8 years old, they can't decipher between a TV program and a commercial. So they just see the characters on the commercials the same way that they see them on the shows. And so they believe it as the truth, and they believe that it's what, you know, is good for them. And so they're really compelled to, you know, see these images and seek them out, and then use the nag factor to get their parents to finally cave. Because I'm not a parent, but I have seen parents and I know parents, and sometimes you're just worn out and you just will just cave under that pressure because you just don't want to keep hearing the nagging. And so it's a whole thing, it's a whole industry. And so we touch on that a fair bit in the book as well. And so, yeah, I mean, the entire book sort of goes from start to finish on this entire journey through maintenance. And then we get into, at the end, all of the appendices, which include over 90 recipes, certainly not all of which are mine. I use many other amazing people's recipes, but I certainly weave mine in there as well. Mine are very simple, very easy. I'm not a chef, but I'm someone who loves to cook. And so I keep it as simple as I possibly can. And then I use tried and true recipes from other amazing chefs and cooks that are out there. And I also even include, you know, a few workouts, very easy, simple, anything that you can do at home or at the office. I've got some top 10 time-saving tips that I love to use in my own kitchen, and a big, huge frequently asked questions section that, again, was informed by the beta group of the challengers. So many questions would come in, and I would say, great question. I'm going to add that to the frequently asked questions page. And so that's now found its way into the book as well.
It is amazing. We really are in a world that's working against us, and there's so much misinformation and so much blatant lies trying to get us to become addicted to this food, to not know what to do. And so your book really helps us kick through that, understand what's what, understand what we need to do. And I mean, you know, you said over 90 recipes, and they are delicious. Trust me, I've been the tester for many of them, and have really found that it's not such a huge struggle. It's not what you think, where you're like, wow, I'm going to go without these meals and I'm going to go without this food. It's going to be horrible. It's delicious and it's fun. So if you want to pick up your copy of Sarah's book, The 28-Day Kick the Sugar Challenge, go to ktsc28.com and you can get the book. And I mean, this isn't just like a little pamphlet brochure. I mean, this is 360 pages of recipes, workouts, information, tips. Sarah brings you through a whole phase, how to get ready for the challenge, walks us through the challenge, and then, like she mentioned, how to then take that challenge and bring it back to our normal lives, into something that you've turned into a lifestyle, something that you can do forever. So go to ktsc28.com. You can order your book there, and you're going to also notice something neat. Sarah, you're doing something really cool. You're basically letting us get the book for exactly what it costs you. So we pay what you pay. Why is it that you're doing that?
Yeah, so a lot of people are asking me that, and a lot of people are saying, don't undervalue your book. I mean, you worked so hard on this, and I can't believe you're doing this. And, you know, people aren't going to understand your reasons for doing that, and they're going to undervalue it. That's not at all the way I feel about the decision to do this. So what we have done is exactly what Roger said. I'm looking to simply charge you whatever it costs me to get a book into my own hands. And so the reason I'm doing that is because I want to create a movement. I don't want to sell books. I don't want to be somebody who is peddling my books or have hundreds of boxes of books in my garage. I don't want that. I want to make this book more available and available to as many people as I possibly can. And the way that I feel like I can do that is to remove that barrier, which is sometimes, the price of a book, where people think, oh, $29.99 or $25 or $24.99, whatever. Sometimes that can be a barrier. And I don't want there to be any reason why somebody can't pick up this book, open it up, and start changing their lives. And so that's really the key and the impetus for wanting to price it that way.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. You've really done an amazing job with the book. And I know I'm a little biased, but I truly mean it. It's done amazing things for me. And more importantly, I've seen the amazing things it's done for the people within the group who have gone through the challenge. So I know if you're watching this right now, go ktsc28.com, order yourself the book. And I promise you, it can change your life forever. It's not just a flash in the pan. It's something you can keep going back to. And it's something that can really help you build a healthier life forever. So thanks again, Sarah. And I look forward to diving back into your book. And I can't wait to see the next one.
Thank you so much, Roger. I really appreciate your time today. And everyone out there, thank you so much for all the love and support you've shown me along the way. Thank you.